Hi everybody, it's Shelly Olds. I am going to show you how to make a hump mold with this cute little bowl that I made from another video. So if you are ready, let's get started. I'm going to start out with a bunch of clay and I'm going to put it on my slab roller and just roll that out. That should work. Let me just check it and make sure. Oh yeah, perfect. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so remember we're making a hump mold, not a slump mold. If you lay it inside, it's gonna slump inside, but this is the hump. Just remember, like, you know, you're driving a car, you're gonna go over a bump. I always think of it as a hump, and so that's what a hump mold would be. Okay, so let me show you what we're going to do. Okay, I've got three kinds of ribs here, a metal and a wooden and a rubber rib. So either one, you can take either one of them and smooth this out. I mean, they all work really well, but see how smooth I can get that? Let me show you how the rubber rib works. The rubber rib's probably my favorite, but really, either one will work. But this smoothing out will get rid of that texture and just give you a perfect base for this. So what I did here is just cut off all that excess. I don't want to cut it straight up against here because I really want to make sure that I have full coverage. I can trim off the rest later, okay? So once I've done that, then I can go ahead. Remember, the smooth side is the side that you need to press on here, okay? And I'm just gonna lay it like that, just like this, and slowly start pushing it down, real gently. I'm gently pressing down. I'm not gonna start taking these rubber ribs and just really pushing and smoothing and smearing and getting a bunch of water and spraying it on here and putting excessive pressure on this. Just a little bit of pressure. Okay, because what you don't want to do is thin this clay out and smear it on here, and then you end up with too thin of a bowl that breaks and cracks. So what I'm doing now is just kind of pushing. I've pressed these little edges out just a little bit, and you should be able to just kind of pull your mold off. And there's my little print of the outside of my mold. And now it's on the inside of my bowl. So I could, realistically, I could print and print and print and make identical bowls. Okay, so now we're going to create an inlay inside of this with a wax resist, okay? This wax, you paint it on there, let it dry, and then I'll show you how to carve into it, and then you just leave the wax on there. You bisque it, and the wax burns out in the kiln, and you can create some amazing designs with this, so I can't wait to show you. So this is a Japanese inlay technique. Really old decorating technique, and I love it because you can do such precise work on your pots. Remember that it needs to be leather hard. Right now this pot holds itself up, it's leather hard, probably the late stage of leather hard at this point. I'm just quickly painting this wax on here. All you need is one coat. It gives pretty good coverage. And we are going to be using underglazes in this inlay carving. So I have to get this on and let it dry first. Okay, so this is wax and it's on my paintbrush. So I don't really want to run it down the sink because the wax is going to coat the inside of the pipes, and then if you do this a lot, it's just going to coat it, you know, kind of layer in there, and you're going to clog your sinks. So what I need to do is get a paper towel and clean it off with a paper towel first. then I can rinse it out with some really hot soapy water. So I cleaned it up with a paper towel, and then I got some soap in my hand, and what I'm doing is just this. I'm really getting all of that soap in there, and then I'll rinse it out with hot water, and then I think it'll be good. But you really do have to protect your brushes and don't let it sit there so that they don't get ruined. So I'm gonna let this dry for about 10-15 minutes, and then I'm gonna show you how to use some clay tools to start carving into it. It's gonna be so amazing. Okay, so it's dry. I can actually touch it and it doesn't stick to my finger. So I think I'm ready. So I'm just gonna use a sharp little carving tool, and I am going to follow my design that I already did, and I'm just going to start carving on the outside of some of these little leaf shapes to start with. Okay, so I've spent some time carving into this with my inlay, so I think I'm ready. Now I'm going to use Underglaze. I think I'm gonna go with this apple green color, okay? And what I'm gonna do is underglaze this. The underglaze is going to go into the little grooves, and the wax is gonna repel it, and then I'm going to fire it at a bisque fire. So what's happening is the wax is repelling that underglaze, and it's only going to stick to the bare clay, and so that's why I'm kind of really loading it and trying to get into all these little grooves. Okay, 3 coats is usually a good number, so that you get a full coverage, and then I'll show you how to wipe it down in a minute. Now what I'm doing is taking a damp sponge, and I'm just gonna start wiping. Now I let this dry for a little bit before I started doing this, obviously, but I'm going to wipe it with a different part of my sponge each time. See how it's kind of starting to clear off those areas? And then when my sponge gets full, then I rinse it out and I continue wiping. Okay, so I took my sponge to the sink and I rinsed it out really, really good and squeezed it out as much as possible. Don't leave any water in this sponge, because if you leave water, you're just gonna start smearing, you know. And that's really why you need to rinse it out really good, because you obviously don't want to just continue smearing all of this underglaze too. And then just remember to keep turning your sponge and trying. Now what I did is went and got a Q-tip, because there are some areas in here that are just going to be harder to get with the sponge. And you don't want to end up digging too deep and taking out all of your underglaze that you painted in there. So just go over it with a Q-tip to clean up all those little fine details, and then you're ready. Let me show you something. See this little spot right there? If I don't get in there and get rid of that and wipe that off, then what's going to happen is the wax is going to melt. And then when the wax melts, not melts, but the wax will like disintegrate. And when the wax disintegrates, that underglaze will end up on my pot in that area. So that's why you need to take it off. So this is what I've got so far. I think it's gonna look really cute. I need to let it dry to bone dry, and then I'm gonna bisque it with the underglaze on here, because this underglaze is for a cone 04 bisque fire, okay? So I'll add on to this video after I get it out of the bisque fire, because I still need to glaze it and see what the final result's gonna be. But I think you're gonna like what this turns out to be.